So it had been 7 years today when I was a senior in high school that we found out that Skylar had muscular dystrophy. My initial reaction was I guess I was upset, but I wasn't really knowledgeable on the situation. It really had to educate me. And I remember my mom telling us at the dinner table and Skylar being upset that the doctors all said the only reason that she was still walking was because of the fact that she had done dance and she had done cheerleading for so many years that her muscles were just so strong in her legs. And the doctor said that it was a very progressive disease and that Skylar would probably not be able to walk, perhaps even paralyzed, before she'd be able to finish by her senior year. And that just kind of really stuck with me. I mean, that was something that was really hard for me to hear, but at the same time, I saw what my sister's reactions was, which was very worried and didn't know what to do and was worried about the future and the things that she wouldn't be able to do anymore, and my mom that just cried and cried all the time, that I took on more of a protective layer, and I felt like it was my job to supply those things that she wasn't been able to do. And one of the big life decisions, or not life decisions, but like life events that people think about is the prom and being able to walk and dance at prom. And that's when I made it. I was like, well, I'm going to bring her to my prom. I want to ask her to my prom. And I did it just like any other buddy would do. I put her on a scavenger hunt one day when she got home from drill team, and I put like 300 balloons in her room, and she had to go find each clue. And when she walked into her room filled with all these different colors of balloons, she had to search for the balloon that had like some kind of message in it. And that's how I asked her, and she was my prom date. We went shoe shopping together, we went dress shopping together. I wore this hot pink dress and she wore this turquoise blue. We were like made and seen, and that's how I wanted it to be. I made it then that this is important to her, and she needs to know that regardless of what happens in her life, that she's meant to be seen, because I only knew what the future would hold. So after high school was over and we had an amazing prom together, I of course went off to college to do my own thing, but knowing that disease that she had, it brought us so much closer. It made me have so much respect for her, and it made me just feel like regardless of what it was or what she needed, I would be the one that was going to be there for her. I'd make light of the situation if I needed to, and always have to hear what she had to say. And it brought us to a different kind of relationship that we had never had before. I mean, not only were we friends, we were best friends, and like we became each other's person. Away at school, it was very hard. I was only an hour away, but I was home every weekend basically. I was home as many times as I could to be with her. Missed a lot of classes to come to doctor's appointments. Or when she was in the hospital. That's when I decided to move back home. But during that progress, we would go to the mall together and we would shop and we would hang out. And my mom, I mean, that's when when I started going to college, is when it really started progressing really heavily. Started with her falling a lot more. I mean, we would be at a mall and she would just fall and be like super embarrassed about it, and my mom would make such a big deal that just created the embarrassment, and everybody was staring, and I just could see in Skylar's face that like she was just didn't know what to think. She didn't like people looking at her, and I knew that people always stare, and it's very common, and a lot of people stare because they have questions, and it's okay that people stare. Be the center of attention. So that's what I wanted to create to her, was that it's okay. Like, it's okay to be different. It's okay for people to stare. Don't care what people think about you. So I knew I had to be that role model. We were walking down the halls of the mall one day, and she fell. And of course, I, being me, just looked at her and was like, seriously, what are you doing? You're going to do lunges in the middle of the mall? Okay, you want to play that game? I'll beat you out. And just started doing lunges in the middle of the mall. I mean, I looked at Skylar, and Skylar just was laughing and like hysterically because it was hilarious, and everybody was staring, and I didn't care. And it was kind of the first thing that gave Skylar the fact that it's okay for people to look at you. It's okay to look silly. They don't know anything about you, and those questions are going to be concerned. And later, that has blossomed into a wonderful aspect for Skylar. Skylar doesn't even need anybody to ask her a question anymore. She sees people staring at her, and she just rolls up with her wheelchair and starts talking to them and tells them about it, and she doesn't care. People can stare all she wants, and I'm glad that I could slowly bring that into her acceptance of her muscular dystrophy. Yes, her disease, it affected me in a different way. I was upset, but to me, I mean, it was my job to protect her and give her all the things that she couldn't need, and that's how our future is. I'm not really worried about the future. I'm not worried about what will happen. I know that she worries about things about not having, like, wanting to have a baby and what it will do to her body, and I worry about those things too, because I want her to have a family, and I want her to have everything that she wants, and I guess it's more of a struggle to me to see her upset because I want to be able to give her those things. I mean, if she wants to have a baby and her body can't handle it, I will have her baby. I will gladly do that for her, and it's something I've told her. I mean, there's no reason she can't have anything in this world that she wants, and I guess I just feel like now as beforehand, I didn't really have to provide for my sister. She's my sister. I had fun and I laughed and I got mad at her and I hit her and we got in fights, but now I feel like I have to, I don't know, be protective and be a provider for her to make sure that she can do everything that she can or will do in the future. And trips to the hospital are exhausting, but you know, it's actually become more of a regular basis now. I mean, I hated it. It was like every time she'd go to the hospital, I'd always freak out, like what would happen, what's going on. And now it's just become a regular occurrence. It's like, okay, call me if it's severe, let me know if you're going home or if you're staying the night. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I slept in a hospital bed watching movies with her. That was just absolutely exhausting. But like I said, I mean, my internal structure, internally, I went through a lot of, I was pain and I was sad, but it wasn't very long. I mean, most of it came from her. What she was feeling was what I would felt, and we became one, and we were no longer two different sisters. We were one. We were one person, and what she couldn't do, I would do, and what I can't do, well, she does for me. So it's absolutely great. Absolutely not worried about the future. I'm not worried about her having a family and meeting a man. I believe she'll meet a man. It's great, and I will have her baby, and she will be great at taking care of that baby. I mean, I know she's great with my daughter, Tinley. Tinley loves riding on her wheelchair. Most of the time they go in circles, but it's just fun, and I don't see my sister any differently, and people might see her differently, and people might say things to me, or, oh, your sister's in a wheelchair, that's the girl in the wheelchair, but, I mean, to me it's like, yeah, she's in a wheelchair, okay. I was never embarrassed by my sister going from walking to in a wheelchair. I was never embarrassed. You can't be. Everybody, I mean, that wasn't my job. My job was to be there for her, regardless. So, I mean, I saw my mom go through a lot of struggles of accepting the fact that my sister, Skylar, had muscular dystrophy, and I think Skylar went through the most struggles she dealt with, learning how to be in a wheelchair within like a year. I mean, yeah, she could still walk, but it was just becoming tiresome. She couldn't walk a certain amount of distance without falling or hurting herself, and she dealt with the fact of going from being popular and in drill team to being in a wheelchair where like people didn't really know how to communicate with that. And I just saw her go through a depression, and I saw her be angry with the world, and you know, it was her faith. It was her faith that let her come to terms with it. It was me being able to make light of the situation, letting her know it was okay that people stared, that it didn't matter if, I mean, she might not have her friends anymore, but all you really need is really your close friends in life. I mean, people were there, people come and go. I will be there forever. You know, it's my mom being supportive, my dad being there for whenever we needed her. She had the support and the faith to come a long way, and it's so funny to this day because people come up to her and she'll be in a wheelchair and people are like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of what you've overcome. And she's like, well, what was I supposed to do? I find it offensive when people say that. And I just laugh because I'm like, Skylar, you know you were there at that point. There's so many people in this day and age that if something happens to them and they have a walking life to a sitting life, that it completely tears them apart, and she has no idea how strong she is or what she's overcome and how great it is that it's okay for people to be proud of her. She needs to know that because it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and she would not have gotten there without her faith. She's a big, oh my gosh, she's a big advocacy for people in wheelchairs and speaks up in it. Oh my gosh, she's my hero. Me telling her that it's okay for people to stare. Well, she is up in people's faces all the time, educating them, trying to make a difference in the world. And, you know, it's absolutely the most amazing thing. Before her disease, yeah, she was in drill team, she was in cheerleading. I mean, she did sports. Today's day and age, in her wheelchair, she's water skiing, she's riding a bike with her hands, she's doing all these crazy, outrageous new things that I would have never done, or she would have never done, walking. So it is such a blessing in disguise that she is in this wheelchair. She always says, you know, never let her wheelchair define her. But to me, it's just a hot pink accessory. I mean, that thing, as much as it doesn't want to define her, it has made her who she is today. It has made her her personality. It has made her her outgoing self. And it has made her adventurous. Like, who would have thought? So to me, yeah, I see her in a wheelchair. But do I see her any differently? No, not at all. I see her as my hero and a person I look up to and somebody I aspire to be, because she's absolutely the most amazing person that I have ever met, or anybody has the blessing of meeting. She will touch your life.